Hello everybody and welcome back to Gardens and Crystals with me, Wesley Peterson, and today I have an update video about two plants that I have in the same family, the Alocasia family, but they are two different types of Alocasia, and I've had many of you viewers out there asking me for an update on my Alocasia Sabrina and my Alocasia Amazonica. And well, I'm going to show you these plants, how they're looking now. And it's a very, very dramatic change from what you saw in the videos I made earlier. So I will put the link down below of the two videos when I was out raiding the rack for these plants and also when I did the repotting of my Alocasia Zebrina, because it was an absolutely beautiful plant, but it was a rescue plant that I found and the roots were almost completely dried out and so forth. They were flopping over, soft stems and needed supports. But I decided to give it a go and try and save these plants because I got them at an absolutely amazing bargain price. So I thought, I'm gonna go in and try this. So when you see these two pots, you're gonna get the shock of your lives because these plants are not what you're expecting to see right now. So I might as well just get into this and then I will be able to give some care tips about these plants to explain why they are looking as they are right now. So the first plant I'm going to show you is my Alocasia Amazonica. There you go. Isn't it pretty? Look at those lovely leaves. Oh, I just love this plant. This plant is also known out there commonly as Alocasia Polly, and Alocasias are known as elephant ear plants. But at the moment, you can't see any elephant ears on this plant. No, and that is because this plant did so well for me so long last year and got loads of beautiful leaves and kept popping out new leaves. And every now and again, when new leaves were coming up, some of the bigger ones would yellow off and die off, but there would still be a constant flow of lovely leaves on this plant, and I really enjoyed it for months and months. And then the whole plant decided it was going to yellow off and disappear. And I thought, well, that's the end of it. This plant's done, throw it in the bin. But then I was like, no, I remember seeing videos and hearing that this plant can go dormant if the conditions aren't exactly perfect for it at the time, or if it's tired and it needs to chill out and just relax for a little bit, a couple of months, grow out some more roots or whatever it needs to do to readjust to its environment. If the temperature drops in any way, that could cause your Alocasia to go dormant. So its leaves will yellow out. It's not always just a case of overwatering or underwatering and all of this. These are plants that are much more adapted to being outside or in a greenhouse or in some kind of environment where they're getting a lot of natural light from above. These plants really do need a lot of bright indirect light to keep them happy. They are not bright direct light loving plants, but they are not extreme low light loving plants either. And if you have them indoors like I have had, where the light has been grow lights that are on the ground shining upwards, then they will just lean over and their stems will flop down towards the light. They really need to have to reach up towards the light, and then they will stretch out lovely strong stems that stay up, keeping the leaves up as well to capture that light. So without further ado, anyway, I have waited months, and I am telling you months, to see if it's true that Alocasia plants can come back from complete disappearance and thinking they're done to living and growing again. And well, it's true. I've waited way over half a year. I would say 8 months. 8 months of this plant doing nothing for me. I've just had it on the floor, behind other plants, hidden, so I don't have to look at it, but I know it's still there. Moved it around now and again. And recently it's been right next to a grow light on the floor. And well, it started flushing out again after so long. And this was because I was starting to sort out some of my plants, and I took it up and I was thinking, right, I'm going to have another look. And if nothing's going on, it's going. I haven't got space for things like this. I have lots of plants and I need to keep space. But then it said to me, no, 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 no. Don't throw me out. Don't throw me out. Look at me. Look at me. I'm growing back. I'm growing back. And that was why it was the time for me to sort out and get in and look. It gave me a signal. And I went and I looked closer, and this plant is growing back. So look in this pot. I really hope you can see this. It might be a bit difficult for me to get close enough to be able to show you, but I have 2 bulbs or 2 rhizomes, whatever you want to call them, growing up out of the middle, and you can see the stems are shooting up out of the top again. This had nothing on the top before. Just a couple of weeks ago, there was nothing on the top. And now it's shooting out new stems. Look at those. So this is the beginning of my Alocasia amazonica coming back to life. And well, I couldn't be happier. So I just wanted to make the first part of my video today, the 22nd of November, 2020. And then I'm going to have an extension to this same video in a minute. And you will see this plant as it's grown up and grown out, and see how it's looking when it finally has flushed out some new leaves again. And together we can see how long it takes from this stage for this plant to grow out new petioles and leaves. I am really excited about this after waiting so long. So that was my first alocasia that I want to show you in this video. Now I'm going to go on and show you my Alocasia Zebrina. And once again, if you go back and look at that video, I had around about 5 big stems, huge long stems, and huge amazing leaves on this plant. And they did really well for me for the longest time. And I mean, it's only been recently, the beginning of November this year, 2020, that a lot of those stems died back and they had no roots. And they had spent their last piece of energy producing leaves all season after I rescued them, but they hadn't managed to grow out roots that could sustain those stems. So those actually died back and had to be thrown away. But they gave me an absolutely beautiful display for many months before that. And then I had these last 2 stems here left. And as I said at the beginning of this month, the last couple of leaves started yellowing out. After the newest leaves came out, they started yellowing out. And I'm thinking, okay, this plant has had it as well. So what I decided to do is just go ahead before the plant completely died out and used all its energy and was a goner. I went back and I pruned off those leaves. So actually you can see here there were 4 petioles, and I cut all the leaves off, and I decided, because of the way that my Alocasia amazonica is looking, and I've given this many months to see if it would recuperate, I decided to do the same with my Alocasia Zebrina as well. And well, 10 days later, and I really mean this went so quickly, after cutting those leaves off, this plant threw a fit on me and was like, no, you are not getting rid of me. You are not cutting my leaves off like that. I am not done. So I repotted this plant. It was in a big pot into this smaller pot because I wanted to check the roots. I checked the roots on these 2 stems and they were really fine. They were nice and wide and long and had good roots. So I thought this plant is definitely going to be able to come back. And it has. 10 days later, because where I cut it back, if you look at these sheaths, that is where a new leaf comes out, and you can see that on these 2 stems here, the sheath. So I cut the spent leaf off above that sheath on these, realizing that new leaves come out of those sheaths. So I wanted to keep that just in case. But at the time, I didn't realize there were any new leaves inside. I couldn't see or feel it. And well, look at these 2 new leaves. This plant has raced, and I mean raced, to get itself 2 new leaves out. So that's 2 plants have raced to get themselves out a leaf each because they want to carry on surviving. And they are coming back and they are looking beautiful, those leaves. Really beautiful. So with time, they are going to be able to get longer and longer and spread out more leaves again. Just look at those leaves. just so that you really appreciate what's going on. Look at the dead stalk here that I need to take off, which I can actually get off. Yeah, so I can just pull this dead stem off. See, that just came off. No need for that. And the other side, I can do the same. I can cut that off. So there we go. All I did is I just cut the two older stems off and left the fresh green ones that are producing the new leaves. And now this plant looks lush and happy and on its way out again beautifully. Look at that. A transformation of being cut back in 10 days, and these leaves have, I just can't believe how quickly they've come up. I've had this on the floor right next to a grow light, practically on top of a grow light, a big one on the floor. And that has really helped to boost this plant up. As I said, I repotted it, and the soil I've put in both these plants is a garden mix mixed with perlite, leca balls, biochar or biocoal, and a little bit of sand, just a little bit. Mixed all that together just to make sure that this is an aerating soil, and they're still in plastic pots because these plants, even though they need an aerating soil, like to have moist soil. So they're still in plastic pots in these covered pots. I will not be putting these plants in terracotta so that they can retain the moisture a little bit longer when I water them. But I can always check with the plastic pot and take it out if there should be any buildup of water, because that would surely rot out the roots straight away. So make sure you have a really good aerating soil in your pot with your plant. So that's the way they're looking, my Alocasias. And I haven't bought any more Alocasia plants due to this fact that if I should go straight into the care tips of this plant, the first important care tip for this plant is light. These Alocasias absolutely need bright indirect light above them to keep them stretching up towards the sky, to keep their stems strong and hard, and to keep their lovely big leaves vibrant, because otherwise they will flop, they will go soft, they will reach down, they will yellow out, and they will slowly deteriorate and go dormant because they haven't got enough energy to sustain producing more leaves. Because when these plants are happy, they produce leaves, and they produce a lot of leaves quickly, and so they use up a lot of energy quite quickly. These plants, when they're growing out, they do like to be fertilized, and I would suggest that you're fertilizing the plants when they're growing as long as you have them in enough light to keep them happy and sustained, and if they have an aerating soil that you can keep moist but definitely not soaking wet or sitting in water, as I just said before. That is going to rot them out very quickly. These plants love humidity. So in my indoor terrace garden here, I have the humidifier on, and it's around 60 degrees most of the time now, especially in the winter months. During the summer months, I don't have the humidifier on. I just leave it at the humidity that is in the rooms because it's much higher. But now with the radiators on, you need to make sure that in the winter months that your plant gets enough humidity. It's very important. You can spray them over and keep them happy. Spray their leaves because they have big leaves to keep them free from dust and so forth. And I would say you need to watch these plants an awful lot because they are so prone to pests. These plants, both of them, have been full of spider mites. I have sprayed these plants over and over and over and over and over and over again, and they just keep getting spider mites. So I don't know what's going to happen this time. So the biggest thing, as you can see in this video, is that these plants do go dormant if the environment isn't right. And that is going to happen very often for people that are keeping these plants as house plants. Anywhere that is not bright enough, not warm enough, not humid enough, not got good enough soil, so many things. These plants aren't that easy to keep unless your home is somewhere where it's warm nearly all year round outside. Then you're going to have a much less than perfect environment for your plants. So there are many people writing online, I bought this Alocasia Polly, I bought this Alocasia Sabrina, I've had it a couple of months and now it's just yellowing out and dying, the leaves are disappearing, what should I do? That's because of so many factors. But remember, for the most part, your plant probably isn't dead. It's just gone dormant. So you could go in and change up things like I have and bring your plants back to life. But then you need to have a lot of patience. So if you're wanting wonderful, beautiful plants to look at all the time, this might not be the one unless you've got the absolute perfect environment for it. So that is why I am not buying more Alocasias, because my environment isn't perfect enough for these plants. I have to keep them very close to grow lights, and they have to be kept humid, and the only way they can get enough light in my room here, which is quite a dark room, is very close to a grow light. I found that is the most important factor with these plants, and keeping them moist, but definitely not too much. If they start getting too wet, they really are just gonna frazzle out as well. When it comes to propagation of these plants, they actually grow pups. So you can separate the pups on these plants that grow out from the rhizomes at the bottom. And this one did actually grow out a few pups, and they look beautiful with small leaves for a while, and then they died back. So it has been quite a challenge to keep these plants for me, but they are so beautiful. So I've got these two now, and I'm sticking with these two, and I'm going to do my absolute best to keep these two going. But I am not going to be buying myself any more Alocasias while I have my space as it is, and also to not have plants that get bugs very easily like these do. They get full of spider mites, and they can get thrips and mealybug and everything. So yeah, if there's any care tips that I've missed, if there's anything you'd like to add, any stories that you have about your plants, please write them below. It's very interesting to hear what's happened with other people's plants. It's very interesting to hear what you have of feedback about care tips and so forth to share with me and other people. So if you do that, thank you very much. So anyway, that is it for the first half of this video, and I will see you again in a couple of weeks or a couple of months, depending on how quickly these grow, so that you can see how their leaves are flushed out and bounce back. And I'm hoping I'm going to have two beautiful plants to show you. So let's now move forward into the future. So now this is the continuation of my video about my Alocasia plants that I have here. This beside me here is my Alocasia Sabrina. And as I said in the beginning of the video, this plant was on the way out, died back, and then it started coming back to life very quickly after I pruned it right down. And look now, I have two beautiful new leaves that have just popped up, and they're reaching up to the sky because they are so happy. And even their stems down at the bottom have tidied out, and they've become longer and longer, and well, they have this beautiful Sabrina coloration going on in them. So I just want to bring them in so you can get a closer look to see what happens with these beautiful Alocasia plants, to show you that they are plants that do go dormant and do die down and can absolutely come back. So just look at this absolutely beautiful leaf up here and the one down here at the bottom. Two different plants that have produced a new stem and look like they're on the way out to producing a second leaf. I can feel a second leaf bump on the side of that one. I can't feel one on this one, this taller one yet, but this one here definitely has a second leaf bump coming out on the shorter stem. So that's really nice. Look at these close up. Now, isn't that just an amazing comeback? And look at the one down the bottom here, if I can turn it around so you can look at it better. And there's the second one, look at that. I am just so pleased with this. If I should go further back, you get to see them properly. Look at them, standing up nice and tall. Now, the reason they're standing up nice and tall and stiff like this is because I have them in my Mars Hydro grow tent under my Mars Hydro TS1000 grow light, which is above them, which is warm, which is a bright white full spectrum LED grow light. And this plant is absolutely loving that. In the beginning, when it started flushing out, I had it on the ground next to a grow light that had this kind of pink spectrum, and it was next to the plant. But when these leaves started coming out, they started folding over and down towards that light by them, because these plants are extremely sensitive to the way the lighting is hitting them. They really have to have light from above. If it's not from above, they are going to flop they are going to search down for the light. They're going to search to the side for the light. They're going to lean every which way that light is to get the maximum spread of light on the surface of their leaves. So they're going to fold forward, back, upwards. So now the light's above, this one is stretching up, and this one down here that's lower is stretching a little bit forward, you can see, towards where the light will be. And look at these gorgeous stems. Isn't that just the most amazing coloration? I am just absolutely thrilled that this plant decided to come back from the brink of me thinking it might be a goner. Because these were rescue plants that I got. I've already posted the link above earlier in this video, and I will be putting it in the description down below so that you can go back and look at my Raid in the Rack video and the video of repotting this plant, because it was absolutely fantastic. I got a great bargain on these plants. I think there was something like 50 Swedish kronor a pot, really, really cheap. And well, I still have 2 of the, I think there were 5 plants, 5 stems. I have 2 left, and they are showing the will to survive. So this is really great. So now let me go in and show you my other alocasia that I have that really disappeared for months, but it's well on its way back as well. So this alocasia here is taking a lot longer time to come back from its dormant period. This is my Alocasia amazonica, or otherwise known out there as Alocasia Polly. So this is also 2 stems, as you see here, and they are both on their way up and out. And look, you can see that is a leaf emerging on the taller one, and the smaller one has a leaf just coming out as well. I'm just so excited about this because this is a beautiful plant, and to be able to see the whole process from going down to nothing to just emerging back up like this is absolutely amazing. I will say you really do need patience. This is a whole year's cycle with just a couple of months of seeing the beauty and then it just being nothing for months. And then this process taking over a month as well to sprout out. It's suddenly starting to push out this leaf much quicker because I have it in my Mars Hydro grow tent with my other Alocasia Zebrina, and they seem to really be enjoying that full spectrum white LED light from the TS1000 grow light. It seems to be doing the trick because this is going much quicker. I'm starting to see the shape and the color because this leaf has a dark kind of grey green color with a burgundy sheen and so forth on it, and these lovely big veins, you know. I'm starting to see a little bit of that on this one, and the other one is starting to push out. It's just an amazing process. So this was the second part of this video, showing you a little bit further down the road how these plants are doing. Then I'm going to make my final segment when these leaves have come out a little bit more, so we can see how they are when they've pushed out the first leaf. And then I hope they're going to stay around for a while to push out a few more leaves and make me a lovely, beautiful plant again. But I will say, my home environment isn't ideal for this plant, and that is why I will not be buying any more Alocasias, because this process is too long for me. I want to be looking at green plants all year round. That's the point of having house plants for me. If I had a garden, if I was in a warmer area, it wouldn't matter. You could just leave these out and they will pop up and down in the ground with the seasons, and they're gorgeous. But in a home, you don't want to be looking at this, well, nothing, and then this for months and months on end, to have a few leaves for a month for it to die back again. I don't, at least. I really don't have the patience for that. I'm really enjoying this first process, as I said, seeing everything going on. But once I've seen it once, I'm not going to have to want to go on and see it again and again. And I'm not saying that I'm going to be doing anything with these 2 plants I have. I absolutely love them now. They're showing the will and the willingness to survive and come back for me. So they will be sticking around with me for as long as they want to survive. So even if they do go dormant again, I will be keeping these 2 plants I have until they absolutely don't come back again. And then I won't buy any more Alocasias. If I should be in a different kind of environment, a different kind of home with different kind of light from above and beautiful bright indirect light these plants need all the time to reach up and look beautiful, then I would definitely get more Alocasias because they are gorgeous plants. Have you seen those with the big, huge leaves? Huge leaves, lots of colours, burgundies and grey and green and they are gorgeous plants. But I want a little bit more than this. So I'll be seeing you again soon in the third and final segment of this video where I see how this Alocasia Sabrina is doing and how my Alocasia Amazonica is doing, if it's caught up with the Sabrina and flushed out leaves, if the Sabrina is still around when this one has decided to throw out its leaves, or if this is withered back. We don't know yet. We'll see how it goes. See you soon. So, finally, we have made it to the third and final part of this video. And, well, things are going a little better, but I think they could be better. Let's just put it that way. So this whole process has been around about 2 months, and it started towards the end of November 2020, and now it is January 2021. And well, within 2 months from being bare to having some leaves, I want to show you how these plants have done in my home. So the first one I'll show you is the little one, I think this time. My Alocasia Amazonica, otherwise known as Alocasia Polly. This is the outcome of it. It hasn't grown up into the big, beautiful plant that it was before. Well, I say big and beautiful, I mean, it was taller and had lovely big leaves on it. You know what these Alocasia Amazonica look like when you go and buy them. Absolutely gorgeous. You can see the shape of the leaves anyway here. There's the shape of the leaf. And there's another whole one here, curled back. And then you can see there's one growing out here. And there's a leaf growing out here in the middle. So if you look at the bottom, you can see the 2 rhizomes. And that they both have leaves on them, but they're just not that substantial. They're very white in certain areas, and then they're getting their coloration in some areas. The newer one that's coming out on this one here has a lot more green in it, which is good and longer. And well, I've had these in my grow tent, and as you can see, it has helped to start the growth spurt of these leaves. But I think it's too bright in there for these plants because, I mean, I don't know why, otherwise they've become so white in the leaves here. This plant, one of these plants actually did produce a completely white leaf, and it was bigger than both of these. Completely white, it opened up, looked lovely for a day or two, shriveled up and died. And these ones that have come out after, so subsequently, new leaves have come out very quickly and they're getting more and more green. So I think these plants are doing better and better, but it's a very slow process. If these were out in the garden, then they would have grown up and grown out normally, taller, with beautiful leaves, because they would have been getting the right amount of sunlight, day length, temperatures, and everything else that they need to grow strong and healthy. But in this artificial situation I have them in my home, they are, well, struggling to say the least, but fighting on with the will to live, which is also amazing when you look at this kind of situation. They both have 2 leaves on them now, and there are more leaves on the way out. So now I'm going to take them out of my grow tent, leave them in my indoor terrace garden next to the windows, or a grow light that is this reddy pinky glow, so not as strong, not as powerful, and see what happens with them then. They might start getting more of the green chlorophyll in the leaves because the light isn't as intensive on them. But this just shows plants that went dormant for absolutely months, and I left them in a pot, did come back. They did flush out for another season, and I think they're going to do better and better now. So this is the result after 2 months of getting these plants to flush out again. And well, the next one's already much easier to see. You can see it on the table next to me here. This is my beautiful Alocasia Zebrina. And this also had no leaves and has since been in my grow tent. these two plants that I have in this pot, the two survivors I have from my rescue plants, this is what I have left. This one over here had 2 leaves on it. One that was about the same size as these ones became spent and I had to cut it off. And the other one grew out but not as tall, and it is starting to get kind of burning marks on it. And again, I think the light in my grow tent was actually too strong for these plants. So it's burnt out this leaf. These two are still looking fine. But the good thing about it is I know now that I can take them out of the grow tent and they're going to carry on growing. Because I can see a new leaf on this one plant and another one on its way out on this plant. So let me bring it in a bit closer so you can see everything. You can see this first beautiful leaf here. This second beautiful leaf here. So them together, look at that. And look at their beautiful stems, exactly what you expect on an Alocasia Zebrina. And then I will show you this smaller leaf here, there you go, that has some burning marks on it, but is still alive. And well, at the bottom of that one, right here, you can see the little tip. There is a new leaf on the way out already on that one. And this one also has a new leaf coming out of this petal here. So I still have this wonderful plant that I've had now for months. I've had both of them for months or over a year. So basically what I've learned from this is Alocasias are not the easiest plants to have indoors if you don't have them in perfect conditions. They really do need bright indirect light or lovely dappled light. No direct light, no burning sunshine. You'll get burning on the leaves like this. If it's too shady, they will just not produce many leaves, or the leaves will come out small and the plant will hang over and flop. You need to have sunlight from the top or a grow light that isn't too strong above so that they stretch up and have these lovely stiff stems. That's the way they're supposed to look. So me personally, in my home environment that I have right now, I know that I'm not going to be buying any more Alocasias. I just wanted to carry on with the two that I already bought because I wanted to experiment and I wanted to see if I would be able to revive them, see if they do come back from dormancy in this kind of environment that I have that isn't perfect. And yes, they do. They are survivors. It can take an awful long time and it can be a very slow process, as you can see from this Alocasia amazonica. So if you have the patience and you can switch up your environment a little bit better, you will get much better results. But otherwise, your plants are going to look like this. I really, really love these plants and I am now going to be appreciating these plants a lot more when I go to any kind of garden centre, botanical garden, or anywhere where they're displaying them in a dome or something like that, where I can really get to enjoy them as plants that are really thriving, because right now I won't be able to get that kind of plant in my home. So I will enjoy these out and about and not be buying them for my home because they don't work. And this is something that we all need to realize as plant collectors. It's lovely to collect all the different types of plants, and especially in the beginning, you'll want to go out and collect everything. And I was exactly like that. And I still am to some extent with some things I'll want to try and I want to test. And I can if I want to. I'm an amateur gardener, I can do what I want, I can collect whatever I want. But it will just show that you will enjoy that plant for a shorter amount of time, or your plant is not going to look the way that you've seen it in photos and videos online of absolutely perfect looking plants, right? But I'm enjoying my two plants here now. They are in my heart. I've had them a long time. I've done my best to get them to come back, and we've gone through this experiment together, and now I want to keep these two Alocasias happy, but I will not be buying any more. I will be enjoying them out and about. So if I find any other kind of plants that don't do well in my home, and I've experimented and I've tried different things, then I'll know that I can cross them off my list. If I should ever be in another type of home or have some other type of environment where I know that it would work for those plants, I would most definitely get them. I will most definitely have Alocasias. They're gorgeous plants, but they just don't work in my indoor terrace garden. These plants seem to need a lot more elements to keep them happy. Wind, rain, nutrients that just trickle in through the soil, the right amount of moisture, not drying out too much, not being too wet, the things that they would have in nature. These are really very much more outdoor or huge greenhouse kind of plants to get the best effects for a longer period, because you of course will have them looking lovely for a period or a couple of months, but when they start withering away, that is where it's hard to get them to come back and be as they were before. But you can try and you'll get results, maybe like mine, or it might work out for you. But anyway, that was the whole point of this video, to show that not everything is going to work out to be absolutely perfect, but you can still get results and you can still be pleased with what you get, because I am absolutely pleased with these two plants. I'm very excited, very happy, and I love every time I see a new leaf coming out showing me that these plants will just not stop trying to survive. That is all I have for you for this video about my Alocasias. So go out there, get yourself some lovely Alocasias. If you have the right kind of home, go out there and get yourself some Alocasias. If you might think that you don't, but you really do want to plant and you're okay having that plant for a short period, that's up to you. Because there are many examples of the same plant out there. You will be able to get another one if need be. So, thank you very much once again for watching Gardens and Crystals with me, Wesley Peterson. Please remember to like, subscribe and hit the bell so you know when my next video will be coming up. And I will see you again very, very soon. Goodbye.